India buys oil from Russia while sitting in an American led military alliance. India signs deals with China while fighting Chinese soldiers on its own border. India lectures the West on sovereignty while accepting American weapons technology. Washington calls India a strategic partner. Beijing calls it a rival. Moscow calls it a friend. And New Delhi calls all three of them useful. Most analysts look at this and say India is being hypocritical, but they are asking the wrong question. Hi, welcome to Dr. Pandey on Politics, where we don't ask what happened, we ask what the theory predicted long before it happened. Today's theory, strategic autonomy, and the country that explains it better than any other on earth right now is India. To understand India's foreign policy today, you have to understand one thing. India was colonized for 200 years, drained, controlled, every strategic decision made by a foreign power on its behalf. When that ended in 1947, India made one foundational promise to itself: never again. Nehru didn't just build a nation, he built a doctrine, the doctrine of non-alignment. India would not be a pawn in anyone's Cold War. America wanted India, the Soviet wanted India. Nehru said no to both, not out of weakness, but out of the belief that true sovereignty means the freedom to choose your own interests. That was 1947. This is 2026. Today, India is no longer non-aligned. It is multi-aligned. The doctrine has evolved, but the DNA, it never did. Which is exactly what strategic autonomy theory predicted. The strategic autonomy theory makes one core argument. Rising powers don't become allies, they become balancers. A true ally subordinates its own interests to the alliance. It shows up when called, even when it's inconvenient. Japan does this, South Korea does this, NATO allies do this. India has never done this because India is not a small state seeking protection. It is a civilizational state with 1.4 billion people, the fifth largest economy on earth, and a memory of colonization that is still politically alive in every election, every speech, every foreign policy decision. The theory says for a state like India, alignment is not a strategy, it is a trap. The moment you fully commit to one side, you lose your leverage over the other. So India keeps every major power slightly uncertain, slightly wanting, and in that uncertainty extracts maximum benefit from all of them simultaneously. After Russia invaded Ukraine, the West demanded India to condemn Moscow. India abstained at the UN, then doubled its Russian oil imports, buying discounted crude at $32 per barrel below market price, while Western sanctions were supposed to be strangling the Russian economy. Washington was furious. Trump imposed 50% tariffs on India over those purchases. India didn't blink, it kept buying. At the same time, India conducts naval exercises with America in the South China Sea, signs defense deals worth billions with Washington, actively helps build a counterweight to Chinese naval expansion in the Indo-Pacific. Then simultaneously, Modi visits the Kremlin, attends the SCO summit in China, hosts Putin in New Delhi for 27 hours, signing agreements on energy, space, nuclear cooperation, and military technology. Ask America, India is unreliable. Ask Russia, India is indispensable. Ask China, India is unpredictable. And ask New Delhi, this is just foreign policy. But strategic autonomy theory doesn't just explain the genius of this strategy. It also maps its breaking points. Strategic autonomy works brilliantly as long as the major powers need you more than you need any one of them. 2025 exposed the limit. India and Pakistan fought a 4-day military conflict, and instead of backing its so-called strategic partner, Trump called the ceasefire, took credit for it, then hosted Pakistan's army chief twice. Washington deepened ties with Islamabad. India was blindsided. After 2 decades of gradual alignment with America, the Trump administration reminded India exactly what it was to Washington: not an ally, just a variable. And this is the razor's edge. When you refuse to fully commit to anyone, no one is fully committed to you either. India has no Article 5, no ironclad guarantee. If China moves aggressively on the border, India faces it largely alone. The theory predicts that this tension only intensifies as India grows. Every major power will push harder for India to choose, and India's greatest foreign policy challenge isn't China or Pakistan, it is maintaining strategic autonomy in a world that increasingly demands you to pick a side. So, will India ever be America's ally? The theory says no. Not because India is hostile to America, but because India learned something from 200 years of colonization that most nations learn too late. The moment you let someone else define your interests, you have already lost. India buying Russian oil is not hypocrisy. Joining the Quad is not a commitment. Signing deals with China is not naivety. Every single move is a calculated expression of a country that has decided once and for all that it will never ever be anyone's pawn. Whether that strategy survives a truly bipolar world where America and China force every nation to choose is the question that will define Indian foreign policy for the next 50 years. And when that moment comes, the theory will have predicted that too. I'm Dr. Pandey, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.